2020. We shouldn't go back. Actually, we cannot go back in time, even if our imagination is tempted to travel in time. We are heading forward, always in the destination of the unknown future for planet Earth. But sometimes it can be necessary to go back and reverse, and luckily the reverse function is available in my Tesla Model 3.
We are looking backward. We don't see very much. The vision backwards is compromised very much, especially in this Tesla Model 3. I still get amazed every time I press this start button and the car's steering wheel starts to move by itself. And on top of all, the knowledge of how to safely reverse is especially important owning a Tesla, since many superchargers are built in such a way that the need of reversing is necessary in order to reach the charging cable.
So let's continue together with our imagination and continue reversing, looking back on the past year here on my electric Earth. Now, when we have came to the end of another year for Earth traveling around the Sun. This 2020, what a year 2020 have been. Many people would say that it has been the worst year in their entire life. I hardly could imagine that almost everyone in the whole world more or less have been affected by one single thing during this year. You all know what I'm talking about. Luckily, me and my family have kept us healthy so far, and I hope that you have done so too, or at least not been serious ill. Even if our civilization has been challenged by this pandemic, the world has continued. Of course, plans has been changed for me, but that also led to new opportunities. And when it comes to electric cars, one company has dominated the market totally. Tesla. Tesla, with their record numbers, going from a company that only enthusiasts believed in, to a company where the mainstream now investing in. Expanding their production and investing in new factories, making the world aware of its existence is something that I would say marked this EV year. In April, I asked the question, when is Tesla Model Y coming to Europe? And I showed a picture here from the place where the factory will be built, where they cleared the ground for the factory.
So we can always hope that the construction of their new Giga factory in Europe will be complete within the projected time frame. It's better not to connect a launch of a car model to a completion of a project size like this. We as humans have always dreamt of predicting the future, and sometimes it's possible to do that in some degree. The one that is living here on Earth will see.
This was in April, but how far did they come until now? Let's check in the YouTuber's Tesla Kid channel, where you can see drone shots over the area published on a regular basis. As we can see now, the construction is well on its way. Will we see cars being rolled out from the production line here during 2021? The first month of 2020 was not so much affected by the pandemic here in Europe. We just heard about some problem, about a virus far away in Asia. So we had the opportunity to travel without restriction, and I went to Amsterdam and saw how the Dutch people was using EVs thanks to the incentives and the restrictions for fossil fuel cars. Just leaving the airport building, it was obvious that taxis that was picking up passengers was only electric cars, and it was the rule that it was only electric cars allowed next to the terminal building. Then later in March, I had to drive a rental car for one of my business trips. That was a diesel. Then I really got the contrast between driving an EV and a combustion engine car.
One thing that I notice is when I'm pressing the accelerator, nothing happens. Look here. I pressed maximum and then it suddenly starts to accelerate. And no regenerating braking system. Well, it is like this, that you have to get used to different things. And when you get used to a Tesla, you feel uncomfortable driving a fossil fuel car. Well, it just drives me automatically here. The car just drives me like a taxi. Well, one thing is for sure, that the good thing with driving a combustion engine car for some days is that you appreciate your Tesla Model 3 very much more when you come back to it.
In the last day of February, I also celebrated the 1-year mark of owning my Tesla Model 3. So at that time, I had been using my EV for 1 year. But is the world changing with me? And is it fast enough? It's doubtful. Even this year, when the world have gone through a pandemic and many of us have stayed at home, limiting our traveling, we don't see any decrease in the carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere. Here, a graph from the Mauna Loa observatory on Hawaii, where they have been measuring the carbon dioxide levels since 1958. Can you anticipate any improvements? No, the levels have risen even this year. We can look at this 5-year graph and still it's a rise of levels this 2020. The reason why the curve is going up and down like this is because there is more landmass on the northern hemisphere that is covered by trees and plants, and they only produce oxygen during the summer period in the northern hemisphere. But other scientists that is calculating the actual released levels from carbon dioxide from fossil fuel says that this year we did reduce the carbon dioxide levels with approximately up to 7% thanks to the lockdown. There is so many factors and effects to calculate when it comes to carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere. So that is the reason why we do not see any result of decreased levels on the graphs. But 7%, is it enough? Yes, maybe this year, but we have to continue with 7% next year and the same reduction the year after that, and so on, in order to keep to the Paris Climate Agreement stating that the temperature should not go over the maximum temperature of 2 degrees Celsius. Will our civilization manage to do that? Should we take the risk of demolishing the fundament for our existence, not knowing what the higher concentration of carbon dioxide will lead to when it comes to food production? We humans have accomplished so much in the world with innovations that is building on innovations. A change that has led to our modern society that we have today. Are we willing to jeopardize this just because the world will come to a tipping point, not being able to provide food we need for the Earth population? This is the reason why it's so urgent to use our knowledge that we have today to switch to a renewable society. And the ground transport is a sector that plays a big part in the rising levels of carbon dioxide. And this is also a reason why Elon Musk is such a hurry to build factories that will produce cars and trucks with no emission, running on electricity that will be produced from renewable sources. Tesla is only building electric cars. If you're a long-time follower on my channel, you know that the range is coming up as a question now and then here in my channel. And this is a subject that engages many people. The software in the Tesla cars is calculating when you set a trip how much it will be left in the battery upon arrival. This is a comfortable feeling to have control, knowing of how much you will have left in the battery when you reach the goal, especially when you go on a longer trip. But how accurate is the computer when it comes to predict the reality? I wanted to try, so I did that when I went on one of my longer trips. In the episode Tesla Model 3 Real Range, I did drive a 4-hour long trip in one stretch, and I was surprised how accurate the computer was when it came to telling the right numbers, both time-wise and the remaining charge of the battery.
I drove the full 363 kilometers in one stretch without stopping. When starting the trip home, the car estimated that I should have 13% left when I arrive in 4 hours and 5 minutes with a timestamp of 17:03. The weather was fair this time. I kept to the speed limit and the traffic was moderate, without any unexpected stops. So let's now see what the numbers are when arriving. I had 14% left of the battery and the time was 17:01, or maybe 2. The actual distance measured by the car was 365 kilometers with a driving time of 4 hours and 3 minutes. The consumption was 159 watt-hour per kilometers.
But the second question that I get when it comes to electric cars is the charging process. How does it work when charging? It is important that it's getting easier to charge electric cars. And they have to be many, many more in order for people that is living in apartments without access to their own parking. I had some experience during this year with public charging when trying to use them.
The credit card option appears and I choose the card that I have and put in the numbers of the card into the website on the phone. That's really tricky with all the numbers and everything that is happening right now. Why is it like that? I mean, on my credit card I have this symbol here, and this is the same as on the charger. Why can I not just wireless pay direct on the charger? No. That is only for the company specific RFID card. So I tried to start the charging through the app. But what is this message? The charging station rejected the request. But wasn't this a little bit of bad luck, right? I tried this tiny small little charger far away out in the countryside. What can you expect? That it works? No, of course not. But in our capital of Stockholm, there all the chargers are working perfectly, right?
Stop charging. What happens?
The interface of the website says that I should stop charging and that the charger is in use. But obviously is not. How could I stop it then?
But as a Tesla owner, we have access to the Supercharger network that Tesla runs for themselves, for their customers.
But most of the superchargers today is version 2. They charge fast also at a peak rate of 150 kilowatts. Compare 250,000 watts to a modern LED lamp bulb pulling maybe 8 watts. That's a huge difference.
But how do I find the superchargers? Where are they located?
You will find them here in the navigator. Here you can see I zoom out, and here you see all the superchargers in the Scandinavian area. And also you can use the navigator, and the navigator will route you through the superchargers that is needed. And if I, for example, want to go here to somewhere in Norway, to this place up here, I click this one here, and the car will route me to the destination. And as you can see, the car estimates that I need to supercharge twice to go to this place. And the first one is in Arboga, Sweden, where I need to supercharge for 30 minutes. You can also click here on this supercharger, and then you can see that what the price are for the supercharger and also the availability of the supercharger. Here you can see that 14 of 14 stalls is available.
I had an incident with my Tesla happening during the summer when my car was parked outside my summer house. A herd of cattle was coming visiting my car early in the morning, and guess of my surprise when I was watching the Sentry Mood pictures later that day. The animals have escaped from a nearby farm, and I was happy that they did not destroy the car more than a small micro scratch that could be polished. But the story doesn't end here. I published this clip as a bonus here on my channel and made also a Facebook post of it, and it was picked up by several international news media organizations, and they also linked to the clip. So it's an irony that this clip was the most watched on my channel during the past year, since I didn't put so much effort into it. During this turbulent year, the opportunities to travel internationally has been limited, since border has been closed and lockdowns has been enforced around the world. But I was lucky. In a tight window during the late summer, things came back to somewhat normal kind of life. So I got the opportunity to go with my Tesla Model 3 to Poland, where I have family. This is a country of contrast with a lot of energy coming from coal. But I'm also happy to see that Poland is a country that is embracing the renewable trend with a lot of solar energy. And also Tesla has established their sales organization in the country.
Poland has been a country going through many development stages, very rapid during the years. Faster than in many other countries, but that also makes the contrast between the new and the old very evident. Here an example, look at the sign in the middle, that forbids bicycle, tractors and horse wagons to travel on this road. Yes, it happens that you see them on the roads in the countryside, but they are getting more and more rare.
It starts to be obvious that the gap between Europe and United States, the home country of Tesla, is having an effect of what features are available. In the autumn, Tesla finally released their self-driving software, but only in the US and limited to the amount of customers that they said was carefully drivers. Europe has to wait, and for me it's even more obvious that I do not get the latest cool software features, since I was one of the first getting a Tesla Model 3 in Europe. I still have the hardware 2.5. Now, all models comes with a hardware 3.0. And here in Europe maybe the difference might not be so big, but I miss the function that reads the speed sign and more advanced visualization of the surrounding of the traffic that is offered with cars that has the hardware 3. Hopefully Tesla will upgrade my hardware soon, but one thing that I did get possibility to try with my car was the new Supercharger standard of the version 3 at the first V3 station in Sweden.
See, there is no number on the stall. That's because every stall has the full effect available. No sharing of power between stalls anymore. I start with 18% in the battery, and the highest rate will be in the beginning of the charging process.
Okay, let's see now how fast this will go. Since I am a computer specialist to my profession, I do have a complicated computer network infrastructure system here at my home. And that complicated things for me during this year, having the issue to get in contact with my car.
So there must be something special, something is in my garage.
Maybe it is an invisible ghost that is preventing the car to connect.
What is different in the settings in the car when I'm parked in my garage comparing to when I'm away parked somewhere else with the car? But look, here is 2 Wi-Fi networks. And it seems that the car is connecting to the Wi-Fi network with a very weak signal. That could very well be the problem for the car to communicate. I have several Wi-Fi networks on my property, and for some reason the car decided to connect to the one with a very weak signal. That's strange. The car do not realize that it doesn't have any contact, and then it should try another connection.
So apparently it's important to have a strong Wi-Fi signal in order to not have any communication problems. So now we are standing here on the edge to the 2nd year of the 20th decade during this century. What can we expect from the coming year? Well, we can't go back in time, and we do not know what is facing us in the future. We can only plan for it, but never be sure. This past year has maybe more than ever been an example of this. We are living in the history's future, so we can make choices based on the history. We need to learn and not making the mistakes that already was done, and take the decision that will outline the beneficial future for our civilization. To everyone around the world, I really wish you all a happy new year. Thanks for watching.